Hello and welcome once again to my lair. I am your host, the Rambling Lich, and today I would like to talk to you about rituals in the Pathfinder 2nd Edition system. Rituals are a way of casting complex, expensive, and more powerful effects than your normal spell slot spell. Casting a ritual requires a primary caster, often secondary casters, some time, as little as an hour, but usually up to a day if not longer, and a decent amount of preparation, even for ones that don't require expensive components. But let's start with what they need. Like I said, a primary caster is necessary for every ritual. The caster doesn't need to be able to cast spells from spell slot. Often, whatever is necessary is they need to be able to perform the necessary skill check. In order to attempt the ritual, the primary caster needs to meet a certain rank within the primary skill check. This will also determine the casting tradition of said ritual. So even though you don't need to be a spellcaster in order to cast rituals, they will be the ones more often than not guiding the ritual. You can heighten a ritual up to half of your level, rounded up, decided when you undertake the ritual. Rituals take at least 1 hour to perform, usually longer, on average about a day, and entails some amount of risk. Each day of casting is 8 hours of participation in the ritual from all casters, with breaks during multi-day rituals to allow for rest. One caster can continue a multi-day ritual, usually with some light chanting or meditation, while other casters rest. All rituals require repeated spellcasting words, gestures, throughout their casting time. Learning a ritual is not something that's going to take up your spell repertoire if you are a spontaneous caster or any of your other spellcasting abilities. However, rituals are not common. They are difficult to find somebody who can cast a ritual. And often, whoever can cast the ritual you're looking to perform may well have made a name for themselves on being able to perform said ritual. So getting them to teach it to you could be like pulling teeth or fingernails. That might be a good way to get somebody to teach you a ritual the wrong way. That said, you can probably still pay them to perform the ritual for you, even if they are unwilling to teach it to you directly. Some rituals cost valuable components. These are consumed when you attempt to finish the spell. A good example would be for the ritual of creating the undead. Requires an amount of black onyx, dependent on how strong of an undead you're trying to make. Many rituals require additional secondary spellcasters. They also don't need to be able to cast spells from spell slots on their own, and will usually perform tasks other than strictly tradition-related checks. When the ritual is finished, you must attempt the skill check in the primary check entry for your ritual. Primary checks usually have a very hard DC for a level that's twice the ritual spell rank. At the accumulation of the ritual, you will perform the primary check needed to finish it. This is a very hard DC for a level that's twice the ritual spell rank. Because of the runtime, fortune and misfortune modifiers do not apply to this check, nor can bonuses or penalties that aren't active throughout the process. Note there are circumstances that can make your ritual more or less likely to succeed. Summoning undead on a moonless night in a graveyard, more easy than summoning it in the middle of a church on a sunny afternoon. Before the primary skill check is completed, the secondary checks are done. Rituals requiring secondary checks are done at a standard DC for a level twice the ritual spell rank. This can be changed depending on the circumstances that you're performing the rituals in, and their effects can vary. Performing well, i.e. a critical success, will give you a +2 bonus on the primary check. A regular success gives you no bonus or penalty. Failure, you take a -4 circumstance penalty to the primary check. And on a critical failure, you reduce the degree of success of the primary check by 1. So, what do you get for undertaking circumstances that can be as risky as this? What is the purpose of performing your rituals? Well, at first rank, tempting as it may be, one of the easiest routes of power, quote unquote, is fiendish pacts of the various types. Each one, as they are separate for demons, and devils, will grant you the services of one fiend of their type of level 2 or lower. Note, this is a first level ritual, with the primary check being religion. These being a first rank ritual would make their difficulty on that primary check be 21. And your average caster isn't going to have access to it until 3rd, 4th level. So it is a doable check for sure. But what do you get on your success? On a critical success, the devils are sent to you and serve you for 1d4 weeks. On a regular success, the devils are sent to you and serve you for 1d4 days. On a failure, your request is simply denied. On a critical failure, your request is denied, and whatever entities you are asking for their services of are displeased along with their master. I personally would say that it would be a more difficult check the next time if they were not appeased. And don't underestimate the power of this. At level 3, nothing prevents these from functioning as secondary spellcasters for greater rituals or anything else you might end up doing. Or even just having a level 2 devil, 2 devils of level 0 or lower, or 3 devils of -1 or lower. These can all be extremely useful. They can spy for you. They can gather knowledge for you. They can give you knowledge. You can ask questions of them. They are sent to you and you have them for a while. So, that's what you get with a rank 1 ritual. Not a bad deal considering your rank 1 spells don't last nearly as long or give you that much advantage. Rank 2 is where you get the create undead and animate object rituals. Very similar in their own ways, but they can also create permanent minions and are also rituals that can be heightened pretty regularly. For create undead, it's a casting time of a day. The cost is black onyx, dependent on how powerful of a creature you are looking to raise, and will require a secondary caster. Your primary check could be Arcana, Occultism, or Religion. Your secondary check is Religion, and it targets a dead creature. As I said in my video on the undead, there's always a body when making these. On a critical success, the target becomes an undead creature of the appropriate type. If it's at least 4 levels lower than you, you can make it a minion. This gives it the minion trait, meaning it can use 2 actions when you command it, and commanding it is a single action that has the auditory and concentrate traits. you can have a maximum of 4 minions under your control. If it's intelligent and doesn't become a minion, the undead is helpful to you for awakening it, though it's still a horrid and evil creature. If it's unintelligent and doesn't become a minion, you can give it one simple command. It pursues that goal single-mindedly, ignoring any of your subsequent commands. This is how you get legions of skeleton farmers that you can use to feed your nation or export food to other friendly nations. Because you don't need it. Skeletons don't need food. On a baseline success, it's the same, except intelligent undead that don't become your minion is only friendly to you. And unintelligent undead that don't become your minion leave you alone unless you attack it. It marauds the local area rather than following your command. This is how you get necromancers who just become failures. Frankly, if you can't control your undead, what can you control? On a regular failure, you simply fail to create the undead. On a critical failure, you create the undead, but it is hostile to you and will automatically attack you. These failure necromancers don't last very long. Now, the creation of animated objects is a similar ritual. Less gory, much more friendly. Instead of taking a corpse and animating it and turning it into something else, instead you take an object. Your casting time is 1 day. Your cost is rare oils, and you need a secondary caster. Your primary check is Arcana, and you need to be an expert. Your secondary check is Crafting. Your range is 10 feet, and it targets one object. On a critical success, the target becomes an animated object of the appropriate type. If it's at least 4 levels lower than you, you can make it a minion. It is pretty much the safer, more ethical route from creating undead minions and workers. Nothing stops you from taking a wooden man that you have commissioned somebody to craft and turning that into an animated object that then farms for you. Obviously, wood might not last as long as a skeleton, but that depends on your upkeep. So, that is 2 examples of rank 2 rituals. Note their DC would be 24 on their primary caster. So what's an interesting point that we can look at the spell rank of, say it with me, Fireball? Well, this is the ritual spell rank where you first get the opportunity to cheat death. Reincarnate. The casting time is 4 hours. The cost is rare herbs worth a total value of the target's level times 25 gold pieces, and it requires 2 secondary casters. Your primary check is nature, at which you need to be an expert. Your secondary checks are occultism and religion. Range of 10 feet. Your target is 1 dead creature up to 8th level. Your effect is you call forth the target's soul and attempt to incarnate it into a brand new body. As the soul won't be returning to its original body, only a small portion of the creature's remains are required. These remains must have been part of the original body at the time of death, and the target must have died within the past week. If Pharasma has decided that target's time has come, or the target's soul is trapped, or it doesn't wish to return, the ritual automatically fails. But you discover this if you succeed at the religion check and can end the ritual without paying the cost. If the ritual is successful, the target's new body has a random ancestry, and they get to lose all their ancestry-based traits and pick new ones. they do keep their background, class features, and languages. So, on your critical success, you reincarnate the target into a new adult body. This body has full HP and has the same spells prepared as the original did when it died. On a baseline success, you have the same effect as a critical, except the new body starts at 1 HP and no spells prepared. The soul takes time to adjust to their new body, leaving them clumsy 2, drained 2, and enfeebled 2 for 1 week. These conditions can't be removed or reduced by any means until the week has passed. On a failure, you simply fail to reincarnate the target. On a critical failure, the target's soul becomes trapped in an unintelligent animal creature of the GM's choosing. With a level no greater than half the target's level, while trapped, the target has an intelligence modifier of -5 and can't use any of their own abilities. An adventure in and of itself, hunt down your buddy, kill him, and try again. And you would still be on a timeline since you need the remains of the original body at the time of death. Unless you could argue that the new body is still its body. Note, this spell can be heightened up to 9th level. Each level, the cap at which you can bring back a person increases by 2. So heightened at 4th rank, you can bring back a 10th level character, at 5th, a 12th level, so on and so forth. And your price increases accordingly. At 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th rank, the time span at which you can reincarnate somebody increases as well. 1 month up to a decade. So, at 3rd ritual rank, around level 5, you can attempt to cheat death. What else do we have at the 4th rank? 4th rank, which again you can access as early as level 7, grants you abilities such as plant growth. 1 day, 1 secondary caster, primary check nature, secondary check farming lore or survival, area half-mile radius, circle centered around you, duration 1 year. You cause the plants within the area to be healthier and more fruitful. In addition to other benefits of healthy plants, this increases crop yield for farms depending on your success. If you cast it in an area of blight, plant growth attempts to counteract the blight instead of producing the usual effects. On a critical success, double the crop yield in the area or increase the area to a mile radius. On a success, increase the crop yield in the area by 1/3. On a failure, there is no effect. On a critical failure, the flora in the area changes in unanticipated ways. It could be that your attempt gives them basically plant cancer, in which case they start blighting. It could be that the wrong plants are affected. Instead of your field of corn, wheat, barley, you instead end up with a field full of weeds, dandelions, or even the wrong part of the plants might be affected. Oversize the leaves on your corn instead of the corn itself that you want. Many things could be done on that critical failure, but done in the springtime regularly with a well-prepared group and location, I could see local druids and rangers currying a lot of favor with the local villages in order to be able to call upon them for favors, get their drinks paid whenever they're in town, lodging, or even just get rumors. 3 or 4 druids crossing the countryside about once every season or so, coming in, doing their rounds, increasing plant yields, and you would get a very fertile location, well known for its fertility. and potentially with an outsized amount of influence on its local city. But that is a 4th rank ritual with a DC that would hit 29 for your primary caster. What do we hit at level 9? 5th rank rituals. The true method of cheating death. We get Resurrect. Casting time 1 day, cost gemstones worth a total value of 75 gold pieces times the target's level. Requires 2 secondary casters. Your primary check is religion, which you need to be an expert in. Your secondary checks are medicine and society. And you can target 1 dead creature up to 10th level. And your range is 10 feet. So, what do you get at this? Well, you attempt to call forth the target's soul to return to its body. This requires the target's original body to be present and relatively intact. The target must have died within the past year, and Pharasma has to allow it to come back as well. On a critical success, you resurrect the target. They return to life at full hit points, and the same spells prepared and points in their pools if they had any when they died, and is still suffering from any long-term debilitations of the old body. The target meets an agent of their deity during the resurrection who inspires them, granting them a +1 status bonus to attack rolls, perception, saving throws, and skill checks for 1 week. The target is also permanently changed in some way by their time in the afterlife, such as gaining a slight personality shift, a streak of white in their hair, or a strange new birthmark. On a regular success, you get the same as a critical, except the target returns to life with 1 hit point, no spells prepared or points in any pools, and is still affected by any long-term debilitations of the body. Instead of inspiring them, the character's time in the boneyard has left them temporarily debilitated. The target is Clumsy 1, Drained 1, Enfeebled 1 for 1 week. These conditions can't be removed or reduced by any means until the week has passed. On a failure, you are simply unsuccessful. On a critical failure, something goes horribly wrong. An evil spirit possesses the body transforms into a special kind of undead, or some worse fate befalls the target. Depending on how you would want to go, you might end up with a very interesting party dynamic. This one can also be heightened so as to increase the level range that you can bring somebody back. This does increase the base gold price that you're going to be paying, and it can also reduce the amount of the body that you need in order to make a success. It can also extend the amount of time at which the target could have been dead by, and the difficulty on doing something like this. And the difficulty on doing something like this would be 32. Running on to a 6th rank ritual, Binding Circle. Time, takes 1 day. Cost, Warding Circle ingredients worth a total value of 2 times the spell rank times the target's level. Secondary casters 3. Your primary check is either Arcana or Occultism, and this is the first one that we are going over where you need to be a master in order to perform. Secondary checks are Diplomacy or Intimidation, Arcana or Occultism, whichever isn't the primary check. The range is interplanar, and the target is 1 extraplanar creature. You call forth an extraplanar creature of a level no greater than that of double the Binding Circle's ritual rank, and attempt to bargain with it, generally to perform a task for you in exchange for payment. You conjure the extraplanar creature within your circle and negotiate a deal with it. A creature that doesn't wish to negotiate at all can attempt a will save to stay on its home plane. Most extraplanar creatures feel that they have something better to do than cater to the whims of mortals and require a significant gift, especially if your task poses major risks. Fiends and similarly wicked extraplanar creatures are more likely to accept a bargain for a lower cost as long as it allows them to wreak havoc on the universe or inflict evil upon the world along the way. Monetary prices usually range from the cost of a consumable item of the creature's level for a short or simple task to a permanent magic item of the creature's level or more to persuade the creature to fight alongside you. However, some extraplanar creatures may want payments other than money, such as permission to cast a geas on you, to fulfill a unspecified latent favor, or obtain ownership of your soul via an infernal contract. You can add an additional secondary caster to create a warding circle that prevents the extraplanar creature from attacking or leaving the circle during the bargain. This uses the crafting skill and has the same DC as a secondary caster check. This protection ends if you use a hostile action against the extraplanar creature or the warding circle breaks. On a critical success, you call the extraplanar creature and can prevent it from returning whole. On a critical success, you call the extraplanar creature and can prevent it from returning home for a full day, potentially allowing you to negotiate a better deal by threatening to leave it in the wards for the duration. On a baseline success, you call the extraplanar creature and must make your case succinctly, after which the creature can return home at any time. On a failure, you fail and the creature leaves, or is never called in the first place. On a critical failure, you call something vile and horrible, unbound by your wards, and it attempts to destroy you. And the difficulty for the primary check here would be 35. And the earliest you could try to perform this would be level 11. At 7th rank, and again, the earliest you can perform this would be 13, you get your teleportation circles. For your casting time of 1 day, the cost of rare incense, precious metals, purified chalk worth 500 gold pieces, and 2 secondary casters. Your primary check is Arcana or Occultism, at which you need to be a master. Your secondary checks are Crafting and Survival. Your range is 20 feet and your duration is 1 day. You create a 10-foot diameter circle on the ground which acts as a portal to a destination determined at the time of the ritual. You designate the destination of the teleportation as part of the ritual. This destination cannot be changed. The destination must be a location within 1,000 miles and be on the same plane as the teleportation circle. You must be able to identify the location precisely both by its position relative to the location where you create the teleportation circle and by the destination's appearance or other identifying features. The destination must also be a 10-foot diameter circle that doesn't overlap with any solid structures, but it can be a place that is harmful or dangerous. A secondary caster attempting a survival check for this ritual can be located at the destination instead of the point of origin. If the secondary caster succeeds at their check at the destination and you roll a success, the ritual is a critical success instead. While the circle is active, any creature that moves to be fully within the circle is instantly teleported to the destination. A creature that is unwilling to be teleported can attempt a will save to resist the effect. If it remains in the circle, the creature must attempt the save again at the start of each of its turns. The circle normally only works in one direction, though you can double the cost and make it work in both. Critical success. You create the teleportation circle. It's extremely precise regardless of the distance traveled. Teleporters arrive exactly at the designated point. On a regular success, you get the same effect, but the destination is off target by roughly 1% of the distance traveled, to a maximum of 10 miles off target. Failure. The circle doesn't function. Critical failure. It is wildly inaccurate and leads to a random destination roughly the same distance from the origin point, and chances are some other unusual mishap will also befall you. Heightening to 9th increases the cost to 2,000 gold pieces, and the duration makes it last 1 month, and the destination can be anywhere on the same planet. Heightened to 10th rank, the cost is 10,000 gold pieces, and the duration is unlimited. The destination can be anywhere on the same planet, and your difficulty on your primary check for this would be about 37. Of course, preparing your location can reduce it. This is much more of a national utility spell than it is simple fast travel. Only the highest ranked areas will have anything close to the availability of a circle or even a circle room, and it would be highly guarded. But let's look at the 9th rank. At 9th rank, you get access to clone. Your clone ritual takes 7 days to cast, costs rare laboratory supplies and reagents worth the target's level, times 100 gold pieces. Secondary casters are 3. Your primary check is crafting, and this is the first one requiring legendary in a primary check. Secondary checks are Arcana, Medicine, and Occultism. Your range is 10 feet. Your target is one willing creature up to 20th level. You collect hair, nail clippings, and samples of skin and blood from the target, who must be present throughout the ritual and can be one of the casters. You then use samples to grow a duplicate body of the target's physical form that will house the target's soul upon death. The duplicate is physically identical to the original creature. In order to perform the ritual, you need an expanded alchemist's lab or a superior set of equipment. Once the ritual is successfully completed, the duplicate grows within the laboratory equipment for 2d4 months. Though direct involvement isn't required during this period of growth, you must prevent any interference or interruption or the ritual fails. When the duplicate is complete, the original creature's soul enters it as soon as the original body dies, or immediately if the creature dies during the intervening months, as long as the soul is free and willing. If Pharasma decides that the target's time has come or the soul is trapped or doesn't wish to return, the duplicate remains empty until the impediment is removed. While unoccupied, the inert duplicate must be preserved in suitable alchemical equipment to prevent it from rotting. On a critical success, the cloning process is successful. When the soul occupies the completed clone, it is clumsy 1, drained 1, doomed 1, and enfeebled 1 for 1 week. These conditions cannot be removed or reduced by any means until the week has passed. On a regular success, it is the same, but each condition's value is 2 instead. On a failure, you fail to make a clone. On a critical failure, the clone appears successful, but something went wrong. Once it grows to its full size, it can't hold the target's soul and instead houses a malevolent intelligence or an invasive creature. Possessed, newly formed evil twin. Fun stuff. Problems. We love problems. And last, our 10th rank ritual. Wish. How could it be anything else? Casting time of 1 day. Cost, fine ash, magically imbued pigments, a gem and a marquise cut worth 100,000 gold pieces in total. 2 secondary casters. Primary check, Arcana, Nature, Occultism, or Religion, all required to be legendary. Your secondary check, crafting and diplomacy. Range 10 feet. Targets one creature. You weave the fabric of reality itself to grant the target's greatest desire. The target declares their wish in a loud voice at the start of the ritual and again at the end. The target's wish can be anything, ranging from simpler wishes, such as vast riches, or the casting of a certain spell or ritual, to greater wishes like the destruction of an entire kingdom or ascension to divinity. The GM might decide a wish draws the attention of deities or other powerful creatures, leading to the interference with the ritual or attempts to undo the wish. The power of the ritual alters reality to such a degree that even deities can't outright undo the wish, but they can react to the wish by sending servitors to take away the newly acquired riches or to slay a god. On a critical success, the wish is granted without complications or drawbacks. On a baseline success, the wish is granted but with unintended consequences or side effects, such as taking riches from a well-known criminal, stirring a damaged kingdom to war, or angering rival gods. On a failure, the wish fails and has no result. It could also be partially granted, but to a lesser degree and with greater consequences. On a critical failure, the wish is corrupted, resulting in cruel fulfillment. The outcome can invert the wish itself, summon gold on top of the caster, killing them, or move the caster to the kingdom that it has wished to be destroyed. Also of note, the caster has to be able to convince two secondary casters to do this, knowing that only one of them gets the wish. And that is the power of rituals. This is not exhaustive by any means. And I would encourage both players and game masters to develop rituals and experiment. This is the fun side of magic. This is where it becomes much more of an art than the science of your daily spellcasting. Yes, the fireball will be useful. Yes, the meteors will come in useful. But rituals are where magic meets soul. They often have permanent or long-lasting effects at the very least. Control weather is another one that I could see druids simply ensuring that the rains aren't too harsh and that they come on time. Again, all of this to ensure that the local city and farmlands need less space so that they don't try to creep into their sacred groves. If they come out of the groves every now and then, make the plants grow better, and then hobble their way back in, nobody's going to bother the tree people. Nobody likes it when the tree people are upset. But that is a lot, and a lot of information to take in. As always, I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, do the pleasantries of comment, subscribe, liking, sharing it around maybe if you wish. This has been a long conversation. I appreciate you if you sat around listening. Goodbye. Yes, I'm aware there's a lot of ways to cheat death. I'm a lich. What do you expect?